and welcome to the excerpt. I'm Melissa Ruggieri. Dolly Parton has been a fixture of country music for decades, and now she's ready to be a rock star as well. Fittingly enough, her new album, out now, is called Rockstar. Singing alongside her on 30 songs are some of the rock world's most legendary stars, including Paul McCartney, John Fogerty, and Pat Benatar. Here to tell me how it all came together is Dolly Parton herself. And Dolly, thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
Well, I am fine, and thank you for having me. You were talking about all those great names, and I have some wonderful memories of doing this album with them. So we can talk about whatever you want to talk about today.
Tell me a little bit about the construction of the album. I mean, you announced this almost a year ago, or about a year ago, at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame just after that. And how long did it take to wrangle all of these major music stars? Because I don't think you missed one, or maybe you missed one, but we'll talk about him in a second.
Well, actually, it took a year to do this album from the time I started recording the song and trying to get all the people together. And then you got to to do the mixes, and you got to do the mastering, and then you got to get the stuff in to do the vinyls and all that, get it all pressed and ready to go. So it takes a lot of time. I used to hear people say took a year to do a rock and roll album or a couple of years. And I thought, how can that be? And now I know because a lot of it taking the time to find all these people and get all the recordings done.
Well, were you in the studio with all of them when you recorded these songs?
No, I was not. I was in the studio with some of them. John Fogerty, you had mentioned, I love him to death. He came down to Nashville and stayed a few days, and we got in the studio to record our song and loved just doing it like the old days. And then got to sing in the studio with Ann Wilson. She came down and we got to sing. And of course, Debbie Harry, a Blondie, I loved her. She came down and we got to be in the studio. Stevie Nicks. And so I got to sing with several of them, but a lot of them just work in their own studios. In this new day and age of recording, you just send out the files and everybody works and sends it back, and then you kind of work like that. But it was fun either way. We were closely attached musically while we were doing it, talking about, well, do you want me to sing this part? What if I did this? Can I put more harmonies on? That sort of thing. So it was still very personal, even though they were some of them far away.
Well, yeah, and just from the experience of having them in the studio versus the ones that you had to do remotely, I'm sure there was just a difference in the dynamic between everybody there. Because like you say, like when somebody's in the room with you, you could talk to them a little bit differently than sending them back a file and saying, "Hey, can we do a little bit more here?" So
It was personally more satisfying, but I don't really think you noticed the difference actually on the real record. And I know myself the things that I enjoyed so much, but I thought all the records turned out. I thought all the people that were on the records, we all sounded like that we were right there together.
Well, when you and I talked earlier this year, when you were working on something else, and you mentioned that Mick Jagger was the one person that you were trying to get for "I Can't Get No Satisfaction," and that if he didn't, you would quote. This is one of my favorite quotes ever: "Kick his bony ass." So, should he be worried because you didn't get him? So.
But I got a bony ass too. So I tried to get my bony ass to get his skinny butt together. But actually, I found out later that he was working secretly on their album, the Rolling Stones' new album. And we kept crossing paths. And he said, "I'd love to do something, but let's don't do Satisfaction because, let's do something else because I've done that so much." So I got Pink and Brandy Carlisle to sing on that with me, which I'm glad I did. It made a great girl song. But with Mick, we just kept trying to get it done, and then I ran out of time for my time limit, and so we didn't ever get a chance to get together long enough to figure out what we could have done. So I just missed that one, but maybe he'll have me on one of his songs one day in his next album.
Or you could do a sequel with another 30 songs.
I know. I don't think I need to ever do another rock album. I never intended to do that, actually. I was just recording songs, just demoing songs to see which ones I thought would be the best, but they all kept turning out great. Then I got the big idea to bring all these artists on, and then I couldn't leave anything off. And I thought, well, it's an event anyway, and it's something I can leave for my legacy. And they can, do compilation albums from now on. So I thought, well, why not just go for it and just do it one time and do it big.
What were you looking for in choosing the particular songs? Like what came first, the song or the I can get, Ann Wilson has always said she'd love to sing with me. Let me see if she wants to come do a heart song. Or was it more, here's a list of songs? And I'm also curious, like how long was this list of songs that you had hoped to record just when you first started out?
I wanted to do a lot of songs that my husband liked. He's a big rock and roll fan, always has been. So I knew certain songs he loved, for instance, like Satisfaction, and he loved Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones. And so I also wanted to choose songs that I thought that were suitable for my voice, that I could actually do justice, that I could actually sing them well. But I had already recorded these songs. I just went in the studio doing them on a demo scale, just trying different things. But I thought, well, I'll just listen, see what I do well, and what I can kind of, choose the ones that I think I'll go ahead and master. And then they all started turning out great. And then in the middle of it, I had made a statement when I was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame saying, hey, I'm going to do a rock and roll album. Any of you stars out there want to join me? And different ones, had called, yeah, if you're serious, we'll join you. But I was just recording it, and I hadn't really thought that much about whether or not I would have other people on. But then once I started recording these songs and getting all these artists on these great songs, it just kept, going and going and going, and I couldn't leave anything off. And I thought, like I said earlier, I'll just do it all and just do it one time.
Well, were there any particular songs that really made you feel like a rock star when you were singing them?
Yeah, a few of them. When I was doing with Ann Wilson, when I was doing, Magic Man, I really got into that one. But when I was singing Freebird, and that big fade with that, and I was just ad-libbing stuff, and I was just in that head zone, and I was thinking, wow, I'm just gonna just let my spirit fly like that free bird. I'm a free bird on all of these songs, really. So I thought, well, if it don't turn out good, nobody has to ever hear them.
So you have a couple or several actually original songs on the album as well. And why was it important for you to include those and not just make it strictly a covers album?
Well, I'm a publisher and a writer. I wanted to have some of my own. I thought, well, if it's a big album, I want to, put that money in my publishing company, and I want, because everybody knows I write, and I also wanted them to think that I could write something that was fitting, for a record like that. So that was mainly why, and I co-wrote a lot of them with Kent Wells, and so for the same thing, I wanted to, have some, put that in his publishing company as well. So we wanted to have a few of our own that we could take, personal great pride in.
Did anyone surprise you with, especially on some of those originals, and you have some people joining you, any artists that you were maybe sure how it was going to work out, but then turned out to be just amazing?
I thought they all turned out to be amazing. I was really, really proud of Sting. I love the song Every Breath You Take. And when I asked Sting if he would do it, I sent him my version. And he was very complimentary, said he really thought it was really, really good. And he said, I would love to try some things. So it was just the two of us, singing on that whole thing. He did all these beautiful harmonies himself, sounds like a whole group of people. And I did 3-part harmonies with myself. So I was really proud that he wanted to spend that much time. Same thing with Steve Perry. Spent a lot of time working on the harmonies. And
Your Stairway to Heaven with Lizzo doing the flute. I mean, that's such an inspired choice, I think. And I mean, did you become aware of the fact that she does play the flute and to use her in that capacity?
I had seen her on TV, and I had heard her talk about the flute, and I had seen her play it. And so I know there was the flute on the original record. And so rather than just get a studio musician or somebody to play it, we thought, well, why not get Lizzo? Because she was so hot, at the time. And she just killed it. I loved it. And she's great at on that flute. She is so great, she named it Sasha Flute.
When I saw that in the liner notes, I was like, Sasha Flute, this just has to be just what she's calling the flute, not an actual person named Sasha.
She named it herself like it's a person, yeah.
You and Miley sing together on Wrecking Ball. And how special was it to sing one of her songs?
Well, it was just necessary for me. I love Wrecking Ball. I love that song. And I love Miley. But she was one of the first people I thought about. I knew that I had to have Miley on my rock album because Miley is the new rock chick in my mind. These days I love her whole voice, her whole persona. She's just a rock star. So, and she's my goddaughter, and I've loved her all her life. And we're very close, and we sing great together. And so I thought, well, I'm going to do the one I like the best, and that's Wrecking Ball. And so I asked her if she'd join me, and she said, well, of course, Aunt Dolly, I'm going to join you. So she did, and I'm really proud of that. Yeah.
Well, I love that you mentioned publishing and everything a little bit earlier, and I love how you worked in a little bit of "I Will Always Love You" at the end of Wrecking Ball, but then when you bring it back to "I Dreamed About Elvis," that you sort of tell the story of what happened with that song, and Elvis, was supposed to record it and everything. So I mean, why? And having Ronnie McDowell, by the way, I mean that's a pretty perfect choice to sing a song about
He
Elvis.
sounds just like Elvis. And we recorded that song 22 years ago, and that was my original vocal. And that was the real Jordanaires on that. I think Kent changed a couple of the instruments, but for the most part, I think he just added, a guitar part or a couple of things. But that was the original.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Cut. Yeah. So yeah, I wrote that right not long after Elvis didn't do the song, or it just kept lingering in my mind how it would have sounded if Elvis. And I thought, well, I'll write a song about seeing Elvis in a dream. I tried to figure out a clever way to get him in there. That's one of my favorite songs on the album.
It's a great song. And what did you? "I Will Always Love You." What did you think of that being used in Priscilla, the movie?
I allowed them to license that for her because she told me that Elvis sang that song for her, a little bit of it, when they were coming down the steps of the courthouse when they divorced. And so she had told me after Elvis died, after I was working with her on something, they were going to do a play on her life, and I was going to write some of the music. So she had told me that Elvis loved that song. Of course, that was after that we'd already missed out on the opportunity for him to record it. And so that was a heartbreaker when Colonel Tom Parker wouldn't let Elvis do it because he wanted my publishing and I couldn't let him have it.
You collaborate with two Beatles. Well, first of all, was that done in the studio? And even if it wasn't, though, I mean, was there ever like is this really happening moment, to be with McCartney and Ringo?
Well, actually, I had known Paul. I'd met him on different occasions, saying hi. We kind of would visit on occasion, just backstage, say, hey, how you doing? What's up? We're talking about Nashville or whatever. But I just asked him if he would sing with me on it. And then he said, yeah, and I'll play piano if you want me to. And of course, that sent me over the moon. And then it was after I recorded it with him that I thought, wow, Ringo, if I could get Ringo to replace the drums that I had on, that would be great, to have the two of them, the two Beatles, living Beatles, on the same record. But then Peter Frampton played a little bit on it. And also Mick Fleetwood played some percussion. So that made it really even more special.
Are there any other major projects out there that you would still really like to tackle?
Yeah, I'm tackling one right now. I'm doing my life story as a Broadway musical. I've already written all the music, and I'm recording that now. The script is already done, so it's more about the music and then starting to cast and get all the right people. So to me, my next big album will probably be my cast album.
That's awesome. No, that'll be perfect for Broadway, actually. And I'm just curious, since we're heading into the holiday season, as far as Christmas music goes, do you have a favorite Christmas song?
Oh, I love all Christmas songs. I really do. Yeah. Because to me, there's nothing like Christmas, singing all those great songs that the carolers sing. I have a couple of Christmas albums. My Christmas album a couple of years ago is Holly Dolly Christmas. And Holly Jolly Christmas is one of my favorite songs. And then the album I did with Kenny Rogers, Christmas to Remember, years ago, is still one of the biggest Christmas albums of all time. So I'm really proud of that. But I just love all the Christmas music.
Well, Dolly, thank you so much for joining us. It's been so great to talk to you, and make sure to check out Rockstar because it is one heck of a collection of rock stars and the ultimate rock star in attitude, Dolly Parton.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks for taking the time to talk to me about it.
Thanks for watching. I'm Melissa Ruggieri.